you very much for getting up earlier, but it was for our benefit. And it could have been also worse.
Battery.
Oh, it's the battery you said?
So we next come to the military academy, the French military academy, founded in the mid-18th century at the insistence of another royal mistress.
Anyway, he says, your only limits are my
business right too, because the wind was so high up there that it didn't blow anything up. So he told me a story one day. Now, of course, I'm a client, so I'm worthy of discussion. Anyway, he was in the Air Force.
Sí, está aquí. Mira, tienen aquí del mismo chiquito. Sí.
I'm up here. here.
Water is.
We can make noise.
Gliders left the south of England around 10:30 p.m. on June 5, 1944. They crossed the British Channels, and when they arrived here between Mervyn and Cabourg, it was around midnight. Now I'm going to show you where you are today. Could you see this slide right here? Right here. This is where the museum is built. This is the north, the south, west, and east. You've got the Canal of Caen, with the city of Caen right here in the southwest. Then you have 500 meters away from the Canal of Caen, you have the Rhône River, and 12 kilometers away from that, you have the Dives River. Now, the 6th Airborne Division had 3 very important missions. The first mission was to take 2 bridges, these 2 bridges, simply because in 1944, those 2 bridges in Ranville and Bénouville were the only access direct from the beach to the city of Caen. But they were also the only access for the artillery and reinforcement that were just about to come in the next day. The 6th Airborne Division knew that, the German knew that, and the resistance knew that as well. So that was their first mission. I'm going to show you what those gliders did. When they arrived on midnight, the first 3 gliders started to descend right above Mervyn Battery. They kept on going, they crossed Breville, Enfréville, Ranville, and then 3 kilometers past Ranville, the first gliders made 2 left turns. Of course, they needed to slow down. James Wellwalk, pilot of glider number 1, landed at 12:16 a.m. on June 6, 1944, 47 meters away from the bridge. 47 meters away from the bridge. Now, it is important to remember that the pilot had no radio, absolutely no light on the ground. Those men arrived in hostile territory in the middle of the marsh, with the wind picking up, and they managed to land 47 meters away from the bridge. Now that will be recognized as one of the
unique in Europe. Only 6 were existing in the world, so 5 more meters are missing. So we are looking because the sons of David Duras, Major David Duras, 3 years ago, they visit our museum for the first time for their lives. At that time, they never knew the wartime action of their father. They never knew their father. He was killed in car accidents in 1948 in Texas, on one Texas road. The oldest was 3 years old and the youngest 1 year. So their mother, she was very young when she lost her husband. She was 23 years old. So it was very difficult to live for her. And she never explained to her boys what happened about their father. They knew only 2 things. He was pilot somewhere in European theater. And he took part of the group, not more. And 3 years ago, when they discovered our museum, they stopped on one showcase which explained the decisive action of these pilots. And for the first time, they read and they could watch the name of their father, like as the last squadron leader who bombed 5 minutes before 8 hours coastline. And at that time, ils ont appris énormément de choses. C'est là qu'ils ont trouvé l'histoire de leur père, en voyant cette histoire.
About being a radio operator?
No, about the transmitter.
Oh, this is the transmitter from the B-26, of which I had about 10 of these when I was a kid. And they were modularized, and here's the receiver for the B-26, the Canon BC-348, which is a standard military receiver at the time. All Morse code.
The flag says that. Oh, that was his nose joke. The flag says that.
So I mean, for you, if I have fun, it's actually pretty well built.
Yeah, and I'm sure the crew didn't appreciate it.
Did they create like a fake tent?
They had tent cities all over. They had cardboard, and they used stage manufacturers to build foamy trucks and hang out, or inflatable out of rubber, others were out of cardboard and sheet metal. They had vehicles driving around dragging chains so they'd stir up enough dust. Anybody watching looked like a real one. They had radio operators in there that gave transmissions continuously if they could pick up.
Wow.
Every bit of it was supposed to act just like it really was. A big Army group commanded by Patton.
Wow.
And they sucked all of it down.
That the Germans were afraid against Patton. So it was developed to, as you said, it was Operation Fortitude. Could go inland. So at that time, the Germans would have some time to send on the coast their reinforcements. So it was important, in fact, but all this area was under US airborne control for 8 hours. It was very important to do in order to have the success at Utah Beach. At Utah Beach, the 9th US Air Force pilots have only one way for the bombing. They must go parallel to the coastline, under the clouds. So at that time, the clouds were at around 5,000 feet. So they flew over they flew at 4,000 and 5,000 feet under the clouds. It was important that they could see very well the targets, because it was not possible for them to go. Ils auraient très bien pu en fait dériver vers la gauche.
To have a detour towards the left-hand side.
Donc il fallait voir la cible pour éviter de tuer les hommes qui étaient proches d'un côté.
To avoid, you see the Germans, that's all the German lines. So it was not possible to fly over the line controlled by the Germans. So they had a detour, okay, to avoid them. So probably took a longer time also.
That's also the reason that the airborne came all the way around the flanks. Was in Sicily, there was one flight of paratroopers came over at the night after the Sicily operation began, and the Navy shot an entire airborne regiment down. They had gotten all the instructions that, hey, there's going to be a flight coming over, but one guy that was nervous. They had just had an air attack from the Luftwaffe, and somebody started shooting, and the entire fleet did, and one regiment of paratroopers went down. So they were very worried about that here. That's also, of course, the reason for all the flight markings. I think the guy yet to be told said, thank you.
And also, en fait, il fallait voir leur cible parce que s'ils avaient décalé leurs avions, ils pouvait tuer les parachutistes qui étaient là. C'est pour ça que c'était très important de venir de façon parallèle à la gauche. À contrario de l'homme
It was very important to climb along the beach because this was, if I understood, controlled by the Germans, so they could have killed the parachuters. So it was very important to come on this line, all right, to approach certainly the moment where we are. Okay?
So, let's go.
Don't try to zoom on your camera.
And there's Joe too, asking me to do this thing. I don't know what to say about this, it's too overwhelming. But Nettie could do it better.
That's right. Well, we must run with our 100 pounds of equipment while somebody's shooting at you. And you're seasick.
700 yards, get out of a boat, go up this bridge, and you right at this bunker, please, for me.
And you've been puking your guts out for the last 5 hours on the trip over.
And there's Joe. Oh, he's also filming. We're filming the filmers.
That'll happen.
See if this posterity will say, wow, that's when France wasn't part of the Republic of Qatar.
Well, not so much on the beach. What basically happened is Hitler was the only man at the police. And he ran away so if you
On any given day, it's possible to find some dog tags so that your grandfather is happy.
Grandpa, what's the V on a military corporal?
Who was the Sun correspondent who covered this? Was it more than one?
Holbrook Bradley covers the actual invasion.
Was he on a boat? Or was
he came in on a boat with the soldiers.
On this beach?
Yeah. You want to read my book?
I am. I'm just saying, I want it for posterity. You got to tell me about it.
Yeah. He had to stay on a ship bobbing all night because they had such a foul up at Omaha Beach. And so they spent the whole night going up and down with the waves, and then they came in. So they actually came in D-Day +1, his regiment. That was the 175th Regiment of the 29th Division.
Lecture du message du colonel Aziz Meliani, président de l'Union nationale des anciens combattants français musulmans, par M. Ahmed Fari.
Ô Arki, Mohazni, tirailleurs, spahis, membres des forces régulières ou des forces supplétives, des groupes mobiles de sécurité, des groupes d'autodéfense et des sections administratives spécialisées, à tous ces combattants, à ces hommes qui ont magnifiquement illustré les valeurs nationales et les vertus militaires, la France exprime aujourd'hui sa reconnaissance. Héritier des glorieux régiments de tirailleurs, de spahis, de zouaves de l'armée d'Afrique, qui ont sauvé l'honneur du drapeau français dans les heures les plus tragiques de notre histoire, les harkis, par leur courage et leur fidélité, ont perpétué leur mémoire dans l'honneur, la loyauté et le dévouement sans limite.
Houses were built, you know, shorter and higher, and it gave the possibility to the local population to protect their town by being on the top of the roofs and then looking down and follow the enemies, okay? And then they were communicating to each other from the roofs. So look at this, Saint-Lô. You see the high walls. This is a medieval wall, so it goes back to the 12th century already. And then
In the middle of the town, we have the meritorious task of welcoming, guiding, and comforting the visiting families, and of praying for the dead of Bethlehem. The zealous priest died in 1944. He is now resting in the Ossuary Chapel. The following year, the other sepulchral vault of the same chapel received the body of the noble president and promoter of the ossuary, Monsignor Ginistri, the